seasonal tournaments. Oh, we got a bunch of stuff up here. Global player policy. This global player policy applies to players and provides a baseline for seasonal tournaments, focus on player conduct, eligibility, rule set, and general expectations for good sportsmanship. Apply to all regions, are subject to global player policy. Player eligibility. Players may not participate in any competition if it would violate local law. This looks like all just legal jargon. Well, this is interesting. So, for Magic stuff, I know the age to play and stuff is usually 18. So it's interesting to see that it's 13 from here. This is all just legal jargon, huh? Wait. All right, hold on. There's some stuff in here. Tournament structure. Sign-in process. Qualified players and waitlist players will both need to sign in to confirm. Oh. There are a limited number of seats. Qualified players are guaranteed a seat as long as they sign in on time the start of the day of. Players who just missed out on qualification will be added to a wait list, which will give them the chance to compete in the place of missing qualified players. This is actually really sweet. So they're trying to have the goal of having exactly 10-0-10-0-2-4. It is to have a nice square bracket by having players that just missed on wait list. Players on the ranked wait list can still qualify through the last chance gauntlet. Good to know too. Oh, it's 1,000. Sorry, 700 ranked players and 300. Oh wait. So the top 700 ranked players qualify, and the next 300 are waitlisted. Okay. Yeah, okay, so it is 10-0-2-4. The first 324 players to complete the last chance gauntlet get in. We knew that. Players will initially be seeded through the following criteria in the following order. Players will be seeded according to their rank at the time of the rank cut. Players will be seeded according to their time completing the last chance gauntlet. Qualified tournament, will need to sign in. Deck restrictions, players have to submit 3 decks. Champions can't be duplicated. Region combinations must be unique. Only 1 deck with no champions, so we knew that. Open rounds, Swiss structure, 5 rounds. Players will be matched based on their previous match results and seed. After 5 rounds, there will be 32 finalists and 15 players on the wait list selected from the highest seeded 4 wins players. Okay, so they're gonna wait list kind of the top tiebreaker. 15 from tiebreakers is interesting. I guess they just picked a number to have waitlisted, so that way they almost guaranteed to have 32 the following weekend. The day 2 playoffs are single elim. Each round has 75 minutes to play their best of 3. So, okay, so they have 60 minutes to play their best of 3. We have a prep phase, an overtime phase, and a break phase. Each match will start with a tournament challenge. The ready button will glow on the tournament screen. Players have 5 minutes to accept the challenge. Players that do not accept in 5 minutes will forfeit the match. Oh, that's interesting. So it sounds like there will be like kind of automated putting people together, but it'll be on the players to be there and say, hey, I'm ready for my match. So a minute to ban one of their decks, minute to pick. You play your best of 3. Round durations will be tightly controlled by persistent timer and seasonal tournaments. There's a 60-minute round timer shared by both players. So each player will get a 30-minute clock, I assume. Oh, that's really interesting. So this is a detail on the game timer. Each player in each game will have 7 minutes and 30 seconds. If overtime, players will only have 20 seconds for their turn during overtime and can no longer bank additional time. Overtime kicks in for either an individual player who has used all their time, both players for 5 minutes after the round time has expired. The hard stop will terminate any ongoing game 5 minutes after the round time has expired. Victory will be awarded to the player with the most game time remaining. That's interesting. I feel like I'm going to have to see how this works out in practice. I do, as a competitor, I like the idea that rounds have a hard stop time, so that way it's very predictable. Like, one of the big things that sucks about like traditional Swiss tournaments is like, you know, your rounds can vary from like 60 minutes to like 90 minutes sometimes. So like knowing that it's 75 and then we're done every time is good. But I'm not sure I understand. There's 20 seconds for their turn during overtime and can no longer bank additional time. So I assume this just means the timer starts ticking down right away. And I'm going to have to see how this works in practice. I don't know from reading this if I'm parsing fully how overtime is going to work. Typically, a tied game will result in awarding a win to both players. If this results in one player having 2 wins, they're declared the victor. Oh, that's interesting. So if games tie, both players get the win. So if you already won with your other deck, you then win the set. If this results in a tied match, we tie break based on the following. This happens in game 2 of the match, the decks will not be banned and players will replay them in game 3. If this happens in game 3 of the match, the victory will be declared by the player who won game 1, the highest seeded player. Yeah, I think 15 minutes for the average Runeterra game is probably pretty realistic. Okay, sweet. So we got the full pricing breakdown here as well. So first is 10 grand, like we said. Man, that is a steep scale up on day 2. I guess that was to be expected, right? Because they're 20K total, but like 9 to 32 is, I guess, one piece of feedback I have on this structure. They said day 2 is single elimination, right? So, if day 2 is single elimination, that means we lose 16 players after the first round. So I feel like there should be a 9 to 16 differential in here as opposed to just 9 to 32. Like, the prize structure not being flat and like scaling up a lot at the top is pretty normal for these types of esports things. But I do think it's weird that players that win 0 matches and players that win 1 match will get the same pricing. Even if it's just like a little something, I feel like there should be something slightly more for 9 to 16. That's feedback I'll have to pass along for their future structures. Maybe you skim it out of third and fourth and second if you want to keep. And I'm sure this structure is largely based around the fact that they want to advertise a $10,000 first place prize. That's a very, very typical esports thing to do. You see most games do that where they have the first place prize is huge. So they want to advertise this big first place prize to people. Friend spectate will be disabled for tournament matches to prevent cheating. Riot will be spectating and broadcasting various matches throughout the seasonal tournament with a delay in place to protect players. Look at that, chat. We're going to have built-in spectator mode, and there's a built-in delay for competitive integrity purposes. That's fantastic. Reconnection windows have been extended for tournament games to ensure players who do disconnect and crash can reconnect during their matches. That's great. Match timings will continue while players are disconnected so they can rejoin with a randomly selected deck if it happens during the lobby. Pausing the tournament. In case of an emergency, it will be possible to pause the tournament. This will not stop current matches, but will prevent the next round. A tournament judge will be on call to decide whether a tournament environment is too unstable to continue. There are a number of potential causes for pausing the tournament. There are multiple game-breaking server crashes. Look at this. Not even just like this is just like I hope that there's no issues. And obviously when they write this, they hope that there's no issues too. But just like the fact that there's clarity on what's going to happen if there's an issue there, and like they've thought through it and have a plan in place if they hit an issue and they're working it into the software that they that they, yeah, like this is obviously, like, they get it, right? Like, Riot knows what they are doing, and it's just like, this, and again, I hope there's no issues, and hopefully everything goes smoothly, but just the fact that, like, they have the forethought to know that is good. Like, they have a plan. Like, you know, what do they say? Luck is where preparation meets opportunity. So the fact that they're, you know, you hope for the best, but you prepare in case there's an issue. And the fact that they're baking that into their software from the start is a very good thing to see. Players with outdated clients, sure. Right, had an entire season of online tournaments this year, and they put that experience here to good use. Yeah, definitely. All right, we have something about broadcast. Okay, let's zoom out slightly. The very first seasonal tournament is approaching fast, whether you're planning to tune in or aiming for a very spot of your own. There are a few key dates and times to keep in mind. Since each shard will hold its own tournament, both the open rounds and playoff stages will unfold globally over the course of about 24 hours each. Below is the schedule where you can find what's going on. So, Last Chance Gauntlet. Sign-in open, sign-in closes. The Masters Cut is on December 4th. Okay, and this is what they mentioned too. So, in the other document, we saw that players that missed the Masters Cup but are in Masters, even if they're waitlisted, they can play the Last Chance Gauntlet and try and get a qualification that way. Okay, and this is day 2. No, each shard is separate, Cody. So there are going to be 4 different 1,024 player tournaments that will each pay out a total $20,000 prize pool to the top 32 competitors. When your game has players across lots of regions, you could do that instead of just shoving them all on one server like some other card games we won't mention. How to watch. The playoff stage of the seasonal tournament will broadcast live on a variety of local channels. Americas will be on the main Riot Games channel. That's sweet. The what's it called tournament that they've been doing, the Europe tournament's been on the Riot 2 channel. Your liability showing again? There's some casters lined up for some of them. Some of them are still TBD. Make sure to see where they have casted. Sweet. That all looks great. Like super clear communication. They laid out a lot of different details. There's a lot of legal jargon and like little details in this first document that we looked at. But again, like a lot of good stuff in here. Like especially, and again, I feel like I just want to highlight it. Want to highlight that, you know, I'm failing to find it again at this point, but yeah, bugs and troubleshooting and pausing. Right, this alone, just like the fact that this was a thing that they had the foresight to put into here really just, I feel like, speaks volumes of just like the togetherness, for lack of a better term, that like Riot has all of their stuff in a bag packed up and they're ready to go. Like they know what's up. This isn't their first rodeo. Like, yeah, it's great. Looking forward to it. Sweet. At any rate, that's to be it for me this afternoon. I appreciate everybody hanging out here today. Speaking of Runeterra, I'll be back this evening, 7 p.m. Central Time, a little under 6 hours from now. We'll be playing a couple of Runeterra decks tonight. And everybody stay safe out there. Thanks for dropping in today. Peace, folks.